Good morning, class. Welcome to week 13 of Information Systems, Computer Concepts. And I'm going to go through in Canvas your assignments this week. You finished quiz week last week, which was week 12, and I'll do grade updates and put a tab here. So you'll see grades on the left-hand side. Right now they're not visible, but I'll make them visible so you can see them right there. And so you have an idea where you stand in the class. And I'll do it another one after week 16, which is the next quiz week. So what are we doing this week? You finish Microsoft Excel, you finish spreadsheets. Now we're going to move into Microsoft Access, which is surprisingly easier to learn than Microsoft Excel because there's no math component to it. But before I get to that, let me talk about the two chapters we're going to be reading in Technology in Action. And one is chapter 10, and I'll go and click on a link here so you can see it. And I'm going to go into the course, which let's go to my textbooks. Let's go to Technology in Action 18th edition. Let's open it up. And let's, I'm in it. Okay, so this deals with software programming and the life cycles of software programming. Let me jump through here and see if I've got to the page. Here we go. This is where I want to get. So the reason you write a program is to solve a problem, to perform a number of tasks for the user. So the first thing you have to do is identify what needs to be solved. What problem do we need to solve with computer programming, with a program? And then you have to analyze the situation and design the program with the right procedures and functions to perform the task. Once you design it, you develop it, and then there's a testing phase. You have to test it, and it's in beta at first, or actually it's alpha with an alpha mode within the company. Then it's beta testing outside the company, and then you install it and go with it. And then there's maintenance and evaluation. How well does this solve the problem? Right. So that's a little bit about what happens for software programming and the life cycle. And let's see if there's some of the definitions here. Data flow diagrams. There's some test questions on that, so you can kind of map out the flow of the data and procedures that you write. This is showing some data flow, some request, in this case, the concert attendance, requests a ticket, goes to the ticket reservation system, and then it goes to customer ticket information, concert hall, customer ticket information. Well, this is kind of a simplified one. It's not the best one I've seen. Rapid application development. There's a number of terms here. Programming, these are the steps here. This is a program development lifecycle, figuring out how to write it, code it, debug it. There's always errors when you write a program, so you got to test it and debug it. Some of the debugging happens within the application development program itself, and some of it's when you're testing it, you run across it. So okay, let me get out of that. Let me go back to chapter 10, and here we go right here. I did a document to do a review of it. These are the objectives describing the importance of the software development and the users. Usually they'll have test users to test the program. I've been involved in that at the county of Fresno for deploying new systems, talking about the flow control of the program and the logic of the programming that gets user information and does manipulation to it and before it develops output. Different languages that you can use, debugging that is important in a program, popularity of various programming languages. All right, so that's all kind of giving you an exposure to programming. And you may find you like it. You like that logical challenge, and that works for you. Okay, the next chapter we're going to do has to do with it's chapter 11. So let me go into that. Let me go here and let's go to the table of contents. And let's close out 10 and go to chapter 11. This has to do, and there's some overlap. There's some description here that'll be important. A video for you to watch. There's no SQL, kind of a new move. Talks about a database. So it's really kind of perfect you're getting it this week while you're learning Microsoft Access, which is a database. It's a relational database. So this walks through information. Large advantages of a database, right? Several advantages. It handles large amounts of data efficiently. An example of that is your grades at Fresno City College. You could not manage that for all the students in a spreadsheet. You need something that's designed to handle large amounts of data and where you can ask questions of the data, and which, for an example, when you log in, you're asking the database to show you just your grades with your username and password. You're querying the database. So it's a large centralization collection of data. Okay, we'll learn about database administrators. Let's see what else. A flat database design. Not so sharp. I used to use one, and I found it too slow. and there's no data consistency in it, which is a problem. So and they talk about that a little bit. So that's why we use a relational database like Microsoft Access. And there are many other programs that do that, enterprise level ones and small business and personal ones. But here's an example, and this is showing you a view of the relationship between 3 different cables. So you have residents. In this case, let's see, what's the description? A common field between 2 tables is used to create a link. Student ID is the common field, and the residence assignments and student information table. Resident ID is the common field, and the residence halls and residence assignment table. So what we do a link, a one-to-many. Here's the information about the residence ID and name, and this has to do with the assignments for the resident, or the room numbers and all that, for what room they happen to be in. And then there's one-to-one with information about the resident here. So this is relationships. And this is kind of a hard thing to really figure out how to do from scratch if you've never done it. You'll be asked to do specific relationships. Most of the ones you're asked to do is a one-to-many relationship. So for example, let's say you buy something at a store and you have your customer number. Well, you wouldn't want the store to have to take your customer information every time you went there to purchase or do a credit, right, or a transaction of any sort. So your information, your customer information, is kept separately in a table, and it's linked to a transaction table. So your information is only listed once in a table, but there are many transactions. So that's why that's an example of a one-to-many relationship. So going back to kind of the overview of Chapter 11, you'll learn what a database is and why it's useful. Features, there's object-oriented database. Now we get into larger ones, multi-dimensional databases, how data is organized, how to do filters to filter information or do a query. Maybe you're doing a database for a party and you send out invitations, and you request an RSVP. When you get an RSVP, this is maybe a larger venue, that's indicated that yes, there is an RSVP. Great. Well, you may want to ask the database, show me the records, the invites that have not RSVP'd yet, right? So you filter the database, right? You're drilling into it to get information that's helpful. All right, so that's about databases. I hope you found that helpful. So let me go back to, okay, so with these chapters, you have chapters 10 and chapter 11, you have study guide questions, all right, for both. I also have a Saturday sharing exercise, which, again, that's extra credit, so you always do them. Just do the extra credits. You find it helpful. And then now there's the application side on NextGen My IT Lab. So let me click on that and go into that so you can see it. I thought I was logged in. Maybe I am. I am logged in already. Okay, so I'm going to go to week 13. Here I am. Okay, so you have Access Chapter 1 training. So remember, the trainings have what's called learning aids that walk you through step by step to complete a task. So these are things you'll be doing. You'll be opening and saving data in a database, entering content, which is the simplest part of it, right? You recognize database types, objects. You'll modify records in a database. The difference between a database program and Excel, one, a database can handle large amounts of information, but with the database, to be able to use it, you'll go into Design View where you'll actually design the fields, name, address, city, state, and properties of the fields. Like for instance, for state, you only need 2 characters, so you're optimizing the database. You don't want 255 characters for a field when you only need a few, right? So you'll learn how to create the database, some utilities. Filter is like a one-time finding information, show me the records where there's no RSVP. And a query is like asking a question. It's more of I'm going to save these instructions for how to extract this specific data. Maybe it's a monthly report. And when you run the query, you're prompted for a date range, and boom, there's your information for the month, the transactions. All right, so that's doing sorts, using templates. Wow, there's quite a bit. Okay, so when I go to chapter where am I? Chapter 2, all right, for the training. Let's go to the learning skills here. So let's see. Oh, setting a primary field. Like, what's your unique identifier for you? You know, it's this. At Fresno City College is your student ID, right? It's not just Social Security number. Changing fields, modifying the table, importing data from an Excel spreadsheet is something that you'll be doing in week 16 for the Access hands-on tests. And if you go look at it now, you'll see that I've done a video for you there so that you can actually watch me do that, right? So maybe look at it now, because that's going to be something you do in a few weeks. So look at me showing you how to do it in week 16. Importing data, enforcing referential integrity is something you'll need to do for the hands-on tests. Modifying queries, doing row totals, that's another thing that's going to be in the hands-on test. So really pay close attention to that in this Chapter 2 training, and use the learning aids if you need them. After you do Access Chapter 1 training, then do the assessment for Chapter 1 before you go to Chapter 2 training. And then likewise, once you do the Chapter 2 training, finish the assessment. So yeah, kind of a lot this week, but as much as it seems like a lot of work, databases, it seems to be easier for students to pick up than Microsoft Excel. And I think maybe because there's no math involved. Once you understand the constructs of the need to create a database structure, you know, fields and size and type, and then entering data into it, you know, modifying it and so forth, there's not a lot of math involved in that. It's just kind of learning how to manipulate the database. So I think you'll like it. Let me go back to my let me go back to Canvas. Okay, week 13. That's it. So 2 chapters to read. Some PowerPoints if you wish to look at them. Study guide questions. Scan them maybe before you read. Extra credit, and then the My TLab chapters 1 and 2. So we double up this week. Got a lot of work, so don't wait till Friday to start. Get started early. And I think that'll do it. So let me hear from you if you have questions. And